So my grandfather and my father, my uncle, they were from the Keys, and they lived in a place called Stock Island, which is the very last key before Key West. And so my grandfather started a construction company in the 50s out there. So they did terrazzo, concrete, built houses, did foundation work. I always saw it as a pathway. Any of my summers, I kind of got an opportunity to go to work with my grandfather. I thought it'd be something I'd enjoy doing. Didn't know exactly what part of construction I'd take into.
3 words that excite me about my career: lights, camera, asphalt.
This year marks somewhere around November will be my 40th season. This is only my 2nd job I've ever had. I started as a laborer in the paving business. Grew to be the foreman, grew to be a stakeholder in the business. The owner was in retirement phase and moving out of state, and I was left here to kind of handling day-to-day operations, and just one thing led to another thing, and it was the right move for me to move on and for them to go into retirement. It was tough, tough working for somebody, tough with a limited amount of opportunity. And I've learned so much, and I'm grateful for the opportunity that I did have with them, because it was one of my former classmates' father that actually gave me the opportunity right out of high school. And we're still in contact today. He's 76. So where he helped me, I help him now. Initially, we always went by Atlanta Paving and Concrete Construction, because there was another company called Atlanta Paving, but they were kind of winding down. The biggest challenge in the 90s was to get as far forward up in the phone book as you possibly could. Yeah. So, Atlanta Paving and Concrete Construction got you.
That's funny.
Pretty far forward there.
Yeah.
It's always been our claim to fame is we've taken the jobs that nobody else wanted. We took whatever opportunity was available. There wasn't a lot of picking and choosing. The jobs that people particularly hate to do in today's workplace were jobs that we thrived on. We had to become efficient, effective, and you did what you had to do to get the opportunity, because quite frankly, that's the only opportunity was there. You did the patching. You did if you got an opportunity to do an overlay, and you got to put nice thick material 2 inches down, that was something really nice. You didn't always get a nice big 10,000, 15,000 yard overlay. You might get 1,000 yards and be happy you got it. Hey, good morning, Dustin.
Morning, how are you?
I'm doing well.
I'm Vice President over the material side of Dykes Paving. Anything that goes on inside this yard here, I help manage and run the show. Back in the early days, we weren't quite as fortunate to have the crews that we have now with the amount of people and manpower that we have. I started out, that was probably 23, 24 years ago. Started on the ground, I think running a shovel for about 6 months, and that got old pretty quick. Went and got the CDL and started driving a truck for you.
I recall you taking on a patching contract in Gwinnett County, after you got a little bit of time being in the truck, and you and one of your classmates from high school went out there. We outfitted the truck with a little tack wagon, a couple loop rakes, shovel, a saw. I can't remember, but I think it was a daunting task how many patches you had to do in a day's time for us to make any money doing that, and it was quite a challenge.
I'm Darrell Adams. I'm the CFO of Atlanta Paving. I started working here in the summer of 2009. Obviously, it's wasn't my first job. I've got a little bit of experience. Been in charge of the accounting and finance and everything that goes with that. 2009 was very tough, and Atlanta Paving was really small back then. The company was trying to get a loan for a milling machine, and they weren't able to get it. I mean, just couldn't. It was because it was, milling machines back then, even then, were expensive, $700,000 or something. They couldn't get the loan. The credit history was not good, and so what I did was started working on the credit rating and try to do a better job of paying all our notes on time, the ones that we did have, they did have. That was my first challenge at Atlanta Paving, was working on credit and getting it to where we could get access to the capital that we needed to be able to grow.
I don't know what pushed him to go, hey, I need to go hire a couple of people who do this for real all the time. But that's what separates the size of companies in this business. I'm Mandy Neese. I'm the Vice President of Atlanta Paving. I think when I met Ernie, he was at this point of, he knew that he had something good, that he had a vision, but it was just kind of hanging there, doing parking lots and small stuff. And, I think he probably would have been perfectly fine being that guy too. You can be, Joe's Paving and survive and make a good living as a family owned or whatever, or there's that point where you have to get there. And I think that point happened about the time that I came on board. He was like, okay, there's technology, there's things that these people know that I need, and I need someone doing it all the time. I worked for APAC. They were purchased. They sold off their Georgia division and sold it to C.W. Matthews. So I took some time off, had a baby, and then decided to come back to work and came to work for Ernie. It was a terrible time to even start looking for a job, but, I was like, it's the asphalt industry. There's really never any lows. It's just, we know what low looks like, right? Low is way worse or way lower than what we see as insanely high. Ernie had he called me, with he'll pull off his really heavy accent when he wants to throw someone off, and he called me and I said, okay, I'll come in for an interview. And we had our little bitty house around the corner. I don't know if you've heard anyone talk about it.
1, 2, 3, 4. This is our 4th office in 28 years. We went from an old house, but I actually got an opportunity this past year to buy that original spot where we came from, where Atlanta Paving started.
We were in a small house not far from here.
It was this little bitty blue, 1,100 square foot.
Maybe 900 square feet.
3 rooms and a bathroom.
That was the whole office. And so there would be 4 or 5 people sitting around in one room with little desks. I actually was fortunate because they felt like the guy doing the accounting needed some kind of privacy and separation. So I had my own little bedroom that was an office.
Another asphalt company was there first. Then I rented a little office from them. That's where Atlanta Paving was birthed.
When I got here, the boys were all little kids still. I've watched Brandon Lopez grow up. He was 7 or 8 when I came here,
I'm Brandon Lopez. I've been here since 2018, so what is that, 5 years now? I'm a foreman now, and I've been foreman for 3 years. I remember whenever I was a kid, my dad would bring, bobcats and stuff home. We'd build dirt bike tracks in the woods, so I'd been running a bobcat, since I was 4 or 5 years old probably. Just messing around, going, finding some water and getting the bobcat stuck so he can come yell at me.
Morning, that's Zachary Lopez.
I'm Zach Lopez, and I work for Atlanta Paving as an asphalt foreman. There wasn't any conversations like, hey, Dad, where are we going today? Is sit right here. Just let me answer my calls. We'll go by the day, he'll break the wheel out. Never really paid any attention to what he was doing with it, but I always see him writing stuff down. And, we got all these computers and stuff, but I always catch myself writing down on a timesheet, writing down in my notebook. Have a daily journal I write down in every day because I saw him do it.
Okay, my name is Ernie Lopez, the 4th. I started working here at Atlanta Paving in 2009, and my title is a project manager and an estimator. One thing that sticks out for me with my dad, being who he is, this is probably something from early childhood that I remember. I don't care what I've done. It could be the greatest accomplishment. And I'm so pumped to tell my dad, and he's pumped to hear it. But usually at the end of the conversation, he'll be like, "That's great, but I'm gonna need a little bit more out of you next time." And it's just resonated with me in everything I do. And it's not a discouraging statement that he says, it's just to help me try to go to the next level.
So, I mean, I have E4, I've earned E4, you know, and then I have Tony that work under me directly as estimators and bidding work. And those two guys that report under me, you know, are constantly in my ear and you know, I'm dictating where they're going and what they're doing.
Mandy, niece, took me under her wing. When I say I need to talk to my boss about something, I'm referring to her. And it's, some people be like, well, what about your dad? And it's, I mean, my dad's also my boss, but like on the day-to-day, like who I'm speaking to the most, it's gonna be her. She's the best of the best. She's top notch. She is like a human calculator. She calls me her right hand. And that's pretty cool coming from her.
The first thing that you have to do and that we've been able to do is these guys have to be able to make decisions, right? They have to be able to make a decision, and if they can't make that decision, then they have to be able to make that call.
Can't really be a leader if you can't make decisions without calling your boss, I think. Now there's some stuff you have to call your boss on, but little stuff you should be able to make the decision on the job. The one thing I've always done is I've always asked the guys on my crew. Some of them have been working with my dad for 20 years now, some longer than I've even been alive. I always kind of ask them how we should go about things because they've seen a lot. And, you know, I'll tell them my idea and kind of see what they think. And if they want to do it that way, then we can do it that way. If they have another way and I don't agree with it, then we can try it.
These guys being able to make a call and make that choice, A or B, whatever it is, without having to call me, that autonomy is what then allows them to hand that over to the guys under them.
Yeah, there's even ways, I mean, just to pave a parking stall. You can pave it one way and then you're killing your shovel guy and loop guy, but they may have never seen it done like that before and they're like, why don't you just do it that way? And you're like, I'm telling you, you know, you don't really want to do it that way. And it's, instead of arguing with them, you show them. And then once they catch their breath and quit sweating, then you can say, that's why we don't do it that way. And they'll say, okay, well, thanks for trying my idea. Well, you don't want to make them feel stupid about it because they may one day come up with an idea that actually makes sense or that is a better idea. And if they did think it was a better idea, maybe they would be afraid to say it because they think you'd just cut their legs out from underneath them.
Being able to give these guys the ability to make a decision and to feel okay doing it, that's where I know we've done okay. You know, I don't have to babysit. This is not a babysitting job. You know, we've been able to give people the ability to make decisions and to run with it. But that's because of the skills that they have, you know, that we've put them in places and made sure that they know what they're doing. And if they don't, then we talk about it, you know. We've got that relationship, you know. Guy Cruz that works for us. People don't understand the knowledge that man has, or Donnie Varnell, the knowledge that he has. Because people look at tenure and they see skill and knowledge. But then on the flip side, I've got Daryl McPherson, and I've got, you know, a couple of the younger guys, you know, that are tech savvy. And then there's the in-between, the 45-year-old of us that, you know, grew up with cassette tapes and had MP3 players and all this other stuff. We've just kind of gone with the flow with technology. And so being able to blend the older guy, like a Guy Cruz, who I don't have to call him and ask him for anything because he knows what I need, and the younger guy who's got all the technology in the world but doesn't understand that the guy who writes it down on the piece of paper, the guy who puts it on an iPad, there's a blend there. But what I'm trying to do is blend these older guys with these younger guys so they can learn the best parts of each other.
At the beginning of the company, it was a lot harder to move up. You had to be that guy or you were just gonna work for that guy. I see a lot more attention to the guys nowadays as far as we're gonna show this guy, we're gonna build this guy. If you're ready to move up, come on, you know, because we need you. Not everybody wants somebody better than them. That's the problem. If your guys are all just as good as you, yeah, they might leave you, but what if they don't?